Hi everyone, Sarah here from the Paper Cut. Today I am joining you on the One of a Kind page, plus I'm also on my YouTube page. We're making sure that we have sound, so if you can see and hear me, let us know, and then we'll get going. So today, behind the camera, we have my daughter Leah and Winnie, which is our helper in the office every Thursday. So maybe they'll pop on and show you themselves. Winnie's looking really cute right now. Anyways, so today we are doing the banded Z-fold cards. So you should, if you order the kit, it's this kit right here. We do still have some kits left. So some things that are going on at the Paper Cut, just really quick before we get started. You'll notice that it says coupon code down at the bottom. It's the word holiday. So we didn't do a sale last year. Oops, Winnie's getting down off the chair. Okay, so we didn't do a sale for Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all of that. So we're just having a holiday sale. We're doing it a little bit later than that time because it just seems like you can get overwhelmed with all of the Black Friday stuff going on. So the word holiday, type in that coupon code at checkout. It's 15% off of all orders, or 20% off of $50 orders, 25% off $100 orders. And that does exclude the sale page because stuff is already 25 to 50% off there. And it also excludes the class page. So that's what's going on. Let's go down to the table and then we will start our project. All right, so we're down at the table. So these are the two banded Z-fold cards. We're gonna start with the tree one. If we don't get to the other one, they both assemble the same, and I'll talk about them. But we have the tree one, which is the vertical, and the gold tree, they both have trees, but we have the gold tree one that is the horizontal. Now for this one, you had an option of ordering this die, so you could die cut the words. There is paper in there for you to die cut the words, and there is the Venus Star Dream 2.0, which has a little gold sparkly in it, and there's also red in case you wanted to mix it up. So there's, if you're wondering why the red is in that kit, if you wanted to do the warm winter wishes. And the die was an option because you might have words that fit there. So anyways, that did not come pre-die cut in there. That was just an add-on thing, but you do have paper to die cut your own words. We're gonna put this one aside and we will go to our tree one. So pull out that kit and we will get started. The banded Z-fold card is also two new products on our website. We have the vertical and the horizontal. They're under die cut cards. Otherwise, if you just type banded into the search bar, you should see those. So the banded Z-fold, this is what the card base is. It is a card that has two scores in it. So there's two scores, and then the band is scored the same. You just end up folding them opposite. So when you're folding, we're gonna fold in half on the main score and then back on the other score. So it's like an A2 card, fold in half and then fold back. And that gives you the Z-fold. Then we're gonna do the same thing on our other one. So we fold in half and then fold back, that's our Z-fold. When they get attached opposite. So the long, and we're not gonna do that first, I'm just telling you, the long section gets attached to the short section on the front, and then the short section gets attached to the long section, which is the inside. So, but let's start with just attaching some layers. Okay, so we have these three nutmeg layers. Let's attach those. Oops, I ran out of tape. Crap. Did not check that before I started this morning. And since I'm not sure how long this is going to take, I'm not going to show you how to refill my tape gun. Normally I would do that because some of you are always asking for a tutorial on refilling your ATG gun. But we'll do that another time. So we're just going to put adhesive on our three nutmeg layers and get those attached first. Now both of these cards do assemble the same. It's just one is horizontal and one is vertical. So yeah, we don't get to the other one, but I am going to talk about the other one and some things with that one, because I'm sure we'll have time. So, and if we have time, I'll show you some other stuff that's coming up at the paper cut. But we do have our holiday sale that is going on right now. I was going to start it on Monday, and that's when I'll probably announce it on our Facebook page, and I'll do an email. But you guys are hearing about it first because I'm doing this craft along today. So these layers all attach on the same side. So I forgot to say that in the beginning, but usually I do have my, well, it doesn't really matter. I have my bump side up here. So usually you fold in towards the bump. Because we're folding opposite directions, that kind of throws that whole theory off. But then we have this piece. Now, you can, depending on if you want it to go all the way over to the edge, you can trim that off. So we can just kind of set that there and just kind of look at it. And like I said, if you want to trim that to the edge of your nutmeg, you can just trim a little bit off. But let's go ahead and attach our other layers, our thinner layers. And this does require some cutting. So when you lay this out, now you're going to have the longer side on your left and your two scores on your right. And you'll have your valley fold first and then your mountain fold. Okay, so we're going to attach these layers. These layers, depending on if you want a border, you're going to have to trim a little bit. So go ahead and get your scissors out. Let us know if you have any questions. If you do have questions, Leah will be stopping me. So I think you guys are all working really hard that you probably don't have any questions. No questions, it's silent. So go ahead and trim those. Now this longer one, you're going to have to trim twice to fit on those two. Or you can bend it in half and attach it. That's totally up to you. I like trimming it and having a little border all the way around. So I'll kind of line it up and then I'll turn it over and I'll trim. I kind of lined it up with a score just to give me a straight edge to cut. So now I have that piece. Now this one I can trim to be the same. If my hands are working this morning. All right, so then you can, before you attach those, you might want to also trim your fossil layers. So the dark brown was called nutmeg. And if you want that to go all the way to the end, just line it up with the edge, turn it over and trim it. Otherwise, if you want a slight border, just kind of push it over and eyeball how much you have to trim off there. Of course, if you have a personal paper trimmer, you can actually measure, but I'm kind of a go for it kind of gal, so no measuring here. So then we're going to cut our two fossil layers to fit on our nutmeg. Now, if you are ahead of me in attaching, you can go ahead and weed out your trees. I'll get to those in just one second. But if you're ahead of me, go ahead and start weeding out your trees if you didn't do that ahead of time already. I know some of you go in your kits and just kind of, see, there was a little bit of homework listed saying weeding out the trees. But if you didn't, just go ahead and do that now. So before I attach, let's just go to the weeding. These are attached in here. So the die is from Rubbernecker. And you just take a scissors and you just kind of trim that out of there, and that whole top part, you know, will come up. It's a little bit putsy, and I did pre-weed this just a little bit to make it a lot easier so I could show it. But you're just trimming into there to weed that whole top part out. So I'm going to go back to attaching, but like I said, if you're ahead of me for attaching, you can go ahead and work on weeding your trees. So let's attach our layers. So if you didn't know, I am on every Thursday night on our Facebook page with a short demo and sometimes a craft along. And I do have one coming up on the 16th that you can craft along with me. I'll show that as soon as we get done. It's hard lining up when I have cream on white. I should have turned my paper over and done the green. Hang on a second. I trimmed this one a little bit too short, but that's okay. That's what happens when you are a go for it kind of gal and then you trim too short. Okay. I gotta concentrate with my lining up here. Oops, that one's crooked too. Okay, so once you have those done, we're gonna attach this to our card. And then we basically have our card base done. Okay, so when you're attaching, this longer section gets attached to the front, the shorter section to the back. Now I like putting my pieces on after because then I can kind of see, oh, I'm really crooked on that one. Hang on, guys. I am just going to take that off. No, I'm not, because trees are going to be covering it up. But the shorter section gets attached to the longer back. The longer section gets attached to the front. Now, when you're putting adhesive on, I am going to attach this back section first, but just want to note when you're putting adhesive on this long one, since it's only attaching to the short one on the front, do not put adhesive on the whole thing, because then you will tape your card shut, okay? So note, only put adhesive on half of the back when you're doing this long section. So let's go ahead and I'll get my Sharpie out. When you're putting adhesive on, this is our short section right here. These are our scores. So you put adhesive on that whole long section, and you only put adhesive on about half of the front section, half of the long section. So we can go ahead, I'm just going to start with adhesive right here on my short section. And you can move this band up or down wherever you want. I have mine about an inch up from the bottom. Just try and make it straight. Okay, and then this is how it's going to end up folding. So we can just kind of open that up, and now we're going to put tape on just half of that longer section. Again, if you put tape on the whole thing, you'll tape your card shut. So, and if you're wondering where my mom is today, she's working. She got a job at, just for funsies, to get out and talk to people and stuff. She has a job at an assisted living place. So she gets to deliver their food trays, and then she visits with people that, you know, she knows from when they had a cafe. So yeah, she's doing that today. So that's why we had Leah and Winnie with us. So that's our banded Z-fold. Okay, now when we're attaching, oops, you know what? I missed attaching my tree. So you could have attached your tree behind there. Now I'm just going to trim it a little. So. And then I'm going to trim on the side also. I forgot my tree. Sorry about that. But it doesn't really matter because our other trees are going to cover it up. So we're just going to cut that out of there. And we can attach that. And then you're going to trim off a little bit of the edge of your trees. Or however much of that tree you want to show. So let's put some adhesive on there. And I'm looking for my little dot roller. I don't know where it is. Let's use our micro dot adhesive on the back of our tree. So the micro dot adhesive, you just pick the backing up or the cover up, place it on there. It'll pick up dots, and then we have our adhesive on the back. And again, you can place that wherever you want. And then your trees might stick off the sides. You're just going to trim those. All right, now we have our other two trees. We're gonna trim those however we want. I kind of liked trimming between these two trees for the front, and then on the inside, I just have, you know, half of my trees, so you only need half of this one. Now you could put the other half behind, like in sections behind here if you wanted. So go ahead and let's trim your trees however you want. And then you're going to use foam tape on the back of these. Oops, Winnie's eating some dust on the floor. Her mom's looking kind of concerned. All right. So we have that tree. And yeah, you can trim those if you want a border going all the way around. I did use foam tape to attach them. And then let's trim, so you have a couple trees, extra right there. And then on this other one, that one's going to go on this section. So this one does trim right up the middle of a tree, unless you can find trees that kind of line up. Nope. So you do have, you can't have this one hanging over this score right there, otherwise it won't fold, okay? Well, actually it will. It'll fold onto the front, but it'll stick off the edge of your card. So I'm going to trim that one just a little bit more. Now you're going to use foam tape to attach these, if you want. And if you want to put extra trees, oh, we have this one going here. If you want to put extra trees behind here, you can raise those up a little bit, which is actually what I did on this one. I used extra trees behind, and I raised them up a little bit so then you can see the different depth to the trees, okay? So I'm going to use foam tape to attach. Again, don't ever have your foam tape sticking out above the band. So don't put any adhesive up here because you'll tape your card shut. And then foam tape right here. So you only want adhesive where it's going to attach to the band. Any loose adhesive that's sticking out is going to tape your card shut, and we don't want that to happen. So these foam tape pieces, I know I've had a thing about my foam tape. June Lukowski sent me some foam tape to try out. So I don't know where she got this foam tape, but it's kind of nice because it's already cut to a narrow width. So that was very nice. Thank you, June. Attaching our trees to the front band, and then we have our trees to the short band. Where are we with time? Let's see. Oh, we're good. We still have 10 minutes. And again, if you want, you can cut more trees. You have extras. So if you want to put trees, you know, in this area and pop them up, or behind here, you still have a couple more loose trees, you could do that. But I'm just going to go on right now. We have our deer. So you can attach your deer. Now one of them, I wanted them to face each, actually I think they do face each other. So I'm just going to use my micro dot adhesive sheets to attach my deer. And you might want to cut, actually before we attach our deer, we might want to do our words just so we save space for them. So, sorry, went a little backwards there. So you're going to trim your words, and that's just an easy trim. And then you also have a bigger piece of fossil in there, and you're going to trim your layer. and you can have as much border as you want. Now either I'm not seeing, I don't think I'm seeing comments, but no questions, you guys are just plugging along. Okay. So I did attach these two pieces together, solid, and then I popped them up. So let's attach those. And then I am going to pop those up. Now I don't have any more of my narrow adhesive cut, so let's just cut a bigger hunk. I usually don't use that much, but this is the foam tape that I don't like, so. Okay, I'm attaching my words right up here. And now we know where we can put our deer. Had we attached our deer first, we might have not left room for our, and actually this is a very used sheet of microdot adhesive, so let me get out a newer one. I need to get that one out of my reach. So I've got my deer that I'm just using my microdot adhesive on. And you could pop up your deer if you want. I'm attaching one of them, and then my other one, and then we're going to go on to the snow. Yeah, good thing I attached my words first. Okay, so we have our banded Z-fold card, and we're going to go on to the snow. Now, 5 minutes left?
No.
No.
There's a question.
Oh, question.
The instructions say something about splattering with a toothpick. Can you explain that?
Yep, that's what I'm going to do right now. We are doing the snow right now. Now, I was working on the splattering, and when I did it the first time, I was working on this one, and I actually did splatter with a paintbrush, and I used acrylic paint. And when the acrylic paint is thick, it splatters back at you. So I'm actually wearing the same shirt that I splattered with the original day because I splattered paint on it, and I didn't want to get paint on a different shirt. So then I was like, how do people get the nice little distinct snowflakes? Because I find white really hard to splatter with. So I did take a toothpick, and I'm going to go on to the other splattering too, which you can use like Nuvo drops, but they're not as stark white. I really liked this acrylic paint because it's really nice and white. So you could use Nuvo drops, or even a white re-inker, which this is really thick. This is fairly thick, but it's not as white if you dilute it out a little bit. So I did take a toothpick, trimmed off one end so it's a little bit fatter, and then you can dip your end in and just kind of make your snow like that. It's a little putsy, but I really like how it looks. So it just gives some nice little snowflakes. So, and you don't have to be real particular, and you can use both ends because the other end will just give you nice smaller snowflakes. So then you have a variance in your snowflake size. So like I said, a little bit putsy, and I'm going to actually go on and show you the splattering of the white with the brush. And I found out you need to dilute it out a little bit. So, and then you can put some nice little splatters on your trees too, your nice little snowflakes. I just really like the white acrylic paint to make my snow because it's a nice white. I've seen other people's snowflakes and I'm like, how did they do that? So I just was kind of playing one day and got out my toothpick and just kind of made my own snow that way after I splattered white on my shirt. So splattering can be messy. Normally I like to use alcohol inks when I splatter because they are very thin and they splatter good. But the white did not show up white. Once it dried, it just soaked in. So, yeah. But yeah, if you don't have acrylic paint, and this is something that you can do after. Obviously, I'm doing it at the end because I don't want to put snow a bunch of places that I don't need it. So your other one, the gold one, I originally did my pieces first. I splattered them with the paintbrush technique, which I'm going to show you in just a minute because I think I have a little bit of time left. So anyways, okay, let's move on and just go on to the, I want to add more snow though. What do we have for time, Leah?
4 minutes.
4 minutes. Okay. I will move on so I don't have a blizzard. Well, maybe not. Okay, hang on. All right. So, and that has to dry for just a little bit. But let's move on and let's go. I'm just going to show you what I did for splattering for this one. Now this one does assemble the same. The only difference on this one was for sure I put my tree, because I have my tree trunk hanging out, that's up to you. And I did add these pieces behind. Now I did not pop these up, and notice how I put them at a different level. Okay, and then I cut my warm winter wishes out of my die. So let's go on to our splattering. So I usually take a paintbrush and I dip it in, and don't soak it, you just want to dip it so it's on the ends. And then I take a hard bristle, and this is a fairly hard bristle brush, I take a block and and yeah, if you get a lot of paint on there, you get bigger ones. And depending on how thin or thick, you might want to add a tiny bit of water to that. So I dab it in the ink, I dab it off just to get some of the extra off, and then I hit it. So, and yeah, when it is thicker, it ends up splattering back on you. So, always practice on something else. This one I didn't get enough ink off, and so I have my bigger blotches. This one I did a little bit better, and I dabbed off some ink. If you don't dab it off after you dip it in your paint, dab it off. If you don't dab it off, you end up with a blizzard, okay? But you always want to practice on another sheet of paper before you go on to your project. Now, paper does have two sides, so you can always turn it over. So that is, and then this one assembles the exact same way. So let's get our projects here. So we have our warm winter wishes. This is our horizontal, and this is our vertical. Now I did tell you that I'm going to show you a project that I have coming up, which is this scored card holder. That is on the 16th, so that's on my Facebook page, and it's just kind of a craft along. So you can order this little kit that has all these pieces to make 5 of these card holders.
Question: Do you sell the tree dies?
I do not have the tree dies. The tree dies are from Rubbernecker, so rubbernecker.com. I have the Warm Winter Wishes die, and we have the Banded Z Fold card bases with the bands. The little deer are from Impression Obsession. But yeah, otherwise the tree dies are from Rubbernecker.
What color ink did you use for the Life Happens stamp, and do you sell that stamp?
Oh, the Life Happens is a Rubbernecker, and I used the VersaClair Acorn.
And do you sell the paper you used?
I do sell the paper I used. So that's the Banded Z Fold card. It's under die cut cards. I'll post the link after we're done. This is the brushed gold, and gold mirror card is backing it, and gold lava is our bigger tree, and then jelly bean green, nutmeg, fossil, hot fudge. So that was our craft along for today. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you